What's up, everybody? It is another episode of The Affair. We finally get to find out what Cole and Alison are talking about. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV super fan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I'm like, wait.
Oh, ready? Wait. Oh, it's coming.
Sink back into the ocean.
Hey, there it is. Oh,
We promised, Lam. We promised.
yes.
It's finally here for you.
Finally. Hey, this is like super dope.
Right?
I like this.
Like, this is good. I know.
Like, I would play this in my car.
I know.
Right? Hey, get it. What? The Affair. Go Affair. What? No, stop. Okay, took it too far. What's up, everybody? You know what it is. It's your boy Gonsalves here with another amazing episode of The Affair. Love this show. I'm here exclusively with my home girl, Alison D. What's up, Alison?
Hello, everyone. I'm Alison Dean. You can find me everywhere at the Alison Dean.
Yes, and you can find me at The Poet Saint. Our other co-hosts, you cannot find them here.
No.
Today, they're doing their thug thizzle, but, you know.
They're here in spirit.
They're here in spirit, and we're going to hold it down.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
Oh, that's what we do, Lam.
Absolutely. And this is a great episode to hold down.
This episode was shabammers.
Dude, I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting, and they did not disappoint.
No, they did not.
They did not disappoint with Cole and Alison's point of view.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shocker. Just from the start, the comparison of their two, versions, the ending part where we see Noah, like it's crazy.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I will say though, in both versions, this entire episode, Louisa is not looking good.
She is just, man, she's hating
She
real.
She drank a whole gallon of haterade.
She really did.
Like a whole gallon. And I thought like maybe, okay, with Cole's version, it would be a little bit better light. But no, like, it was bad. And then of course,
it was slightly better in the sense that we didn't have the direct one-on-one when like we had with Alison's POV.
Correct.
But no, it was bad. And obviously, because Louisa is in the situation she's in, where she does feel thoroughly threatened by Alison, by all of it.
And rightfully so, as we found out.
But at the same time, it's like that's not the way to win anything by like emoting that much negativity, right? You don't get many places being that way.
Absolutely
no matter
not.
what.
Absolutely not. And that's why I asked you earlier when we were watching, I was like, how long was Alison gone? And you were like 6 months. And so I'm like, so you mean she has this much disdain for Alison and this much, she feels this territorial over Joni after her being gone for only 6 months?
But I think it's beyond that too. I think it's just
obviously.
I think it's the minute Louisa found out that Cole was the father, right? I think that was sort of like game over, right? The minute sort of Alison was introduced in that way back into her life,
right? So you think it was animosity from jump?
Yeah.
And then the whole fact of her leaving was just like icing on top of the animosity cake.
There you go.
Type thing. Okay.
Yes, the animosity cake.
Got it.
No one eat any of that, please.
Right, exactly. Unless you have allergies, as with peanut allergies. Just saying. But no, I mean, and that does make sense because I'm like, you can't feel this way after her. And granted, and Alison even says, look, my bad. I've apologized profusely. I'm going through it. This is something I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life, my actions. But again, what you said about the whole threatening thing, and that's a great point. Soon as she found out Cole was a father, boom, like you said, game on. And now she's just in full throttle mode about like, no, you should really, if you never come back in her life, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm really good with that. And then we see kind of towards the end how she kind of, throws an olive branch after, well, let's just get into it.
I know, there's like
I've been jumping around.
much.
Yeah. It's so much. So it starts off with Cole's version, and we see Cole and Alison getting busy.
Yep. And we were both looking at each other like,
What is going on here? It ends up being a dream.
Oh. And then we still looked at each other and we were like, really?
Interesting. Because he literally wakes up in bed with his wife,
with Louisa. Yep.
And then we have Joni comes in and like, hey, Joni, what's up? And then we really get a good glimpse of Joni. We kind of got bits and pieces,
right?
You know, earlier in the season, and now we get a full throttle. Super cute girl.
Cute.
Super cute girl. So we see, you know, their interaction, and they're a full-fledged family, right? Full-fledged family. And so they end up talking about her party, because her birthday's coming, her 5th birthday, and Alison being there,
right?
You know, the nemesis, right? And of course, we know from previous that Alison has recently come back to Montauk after abandoning essentially Joni and kind of committing herself,
leaving her for an extended stay,
for 6 months. And so now she's back. And so again, Louisa, I mean, Cole doesn't really seem to have a problem with this at all.
Right.
You know, he's just kind of, not that he's not cautious, but at the same token, he's like, you know, he has history with Alison. They were married before. They went through something together with losing their own child at 5 years. So he's very empathetic to Alison and what she's going through, and basically does not want her to not see Joni and not have a relationship with Joni, even after what has happened.
Yes.
He kind of understands her. Louisa, on the other hand, is basically like, nah, man, this is not how it should go down.
Right.
So really, you know, she's kind of wants to keep her at a, you know, a safe distance away from her. She kind of, you know, again, if Alison never saw her again or was not allowed to.
Cool.
Oh, well, that's how it goes.
Oy.
Right. So, and we see, actually when he goes to pick up Joni, you know, Alison is there. And of course she has, according to the court, basically order that she has to have supervised visitation. So we see a counselor there, and they're at the park. And so
did you think it was interesting? So because of obviously them opening up with him hooking up with her, and then all of the sudden he was very much trying to make sure he was the one picking up Joni or, you know, taking her to the visit with Alison. Like, it just seemed like he was trying to manipulate it. Like, he was saying to Louisa, well, I can take her if you can. Like, it was interesting to me at how much it's like he really wanted to be there, and I was...
Be there with Alison, you think?
Well, it seemed that could be a part of it. Like, he sort of needs... It's like there's a fixation for him, too, I think, because of their history and because of everything that they've gone through together. There's this element of... I need to make sure you're okay. I need to be close to you. I need to know that you're... I don't know. It's sort of like they're perpetually going to be star-crossed lovers. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like this is the destiny for them. Like, it doesn't matter who they're with, what's going on. It's there's some of that happening.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a great point you make. This is my thing with the whole, after watching this episode, I feel like with Cole and the Alison situation, I think Cole was good on Alison, right? You know, she had, you know, was away. She was with, you know, of course, her husband, who she married, Noah, and they had that whole situation going on. The baby was born. He's good.
Right.
He's good. I'm now moved on. I'm with Louisa. Everything's going on. We've started our family. And I think what ended up happening was kind of what triggered Louisa was the fact that once this baby was theirs jointly, I think there was a lot of emotions that came back. And so he never, I mean, based on what we see, even his actions before show differently. He never, you know, was through with Alison.
Right.
And we see even in both their versions, at the end, there's some action between them two. So that just goes to show you that there is something still there, and on both parts.
Yeah, 100%. Well, think about everything that happened between, you know, I mean, when Alison got knocked up with Cole's baby,
right,
that was when she was still very much with Noah.
Exactly.
So it's sort of like they both can't help themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I can't help is when there's a live read that needs to happen.
Oh, that's cute.
Right.
Thanks, Lum.
And I think that it's something that's going to be
this is very close.
Take on.
Well, it's
very close to home.
Take on and actually take off, Lem.
Oh, hey.
Because we're talking today about this happens to be one of my favorite new brands that I've just come across.
Okay.
A friend of mine actually used to work for the company. And so I was a little skeptical. And now I will say these underwear are the best underwear ever. And I'm not like I'm not fronting right now.
We're talking
I'm
underwear,
like trying
people.
to talk like
Just so
Len.
you know.
Can you tell?
We're talking underwear.
All right. So, picture a world where putting on a new pair of underwear isn't just fresh. You're stepping into a better day. And I have to say, this is kind of accurate.
Day is better.
MeUndies focuses solely on producing the most comfortable underwear you've ever experienced. My friends at MeUndies sent me a few pairs a while back, and now I can't imagine wearing anything else. It really makes each day that much better. This is all true so far. For the price of 2 cocktails, MeUndies will actually maybe 3, depending on where you go. MeUndies will deliver your new favorite pair of underwear right to your doorstep. Better day guaranteed. And actually, I will say this: like when the package arrives, you're like, "Hooray for me!"
Really,
the undies are here.
It's going down.
Try them on, and if they aren't the most comfortable, best feeling undies you've ever had, they'll refund you and let you keep your first pair for free. So that's a no-brainer. Included in the price is the sweet touch of modal, a special fabric made with best-in-class raw materials that are scientifically proven to be 3 times softer than cotton. These uber cozy undies are sold exclusively on the MeUndies website, where you'll enjoy free shipping in the US and Canada. And get this, everyone. For a limited time, everyone watching gets 20% off their first order, but you have to go to a special URL, so mind this. It's meundies.com/comfort. With the MeUndies Better Day Guarantee, you have nothing to lose, so don't wait. Go to meundies.com/comfort, 20% off your first order. I would say buy in multiples, just because you're going to be really bummed if you don't have like at least 6 pairs at the ready. Oh, really? And actually what's interesting about this too is, I know we have to get back to the segment, but they always have festive like patterns and colors. Like right now they've got this like, it looks like Christmas lights. Oh. And who doesn't want Christmas lights in their pants?
Right.
That's really funny. I don't want Christmas lights on my pants, but I'll take them on my underwear. Thank you. Okay. So that's that. MeUndies. Go
Merry
get them.
Christmas. Get it.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. All right. Back to our regular scheduled programming.
Back to the underwear. Coming
to
off on The Affair.
Ooh, yeah. Speaking of, so we see kind of just this demographic between, the whole situation concerning Alison and Cole and, Louisa. And you see that there's mad tension in both versions, mad tension. And again, saying, and I think with Louisa, I think it's a lot of women's intuition, because she said this, and I can't remember which version it was, but she did say, she's like, she wants you. Like, it's not just Joni. She wants you back. So she's basically trying to invade and get not only Joni, but get you back. And she really feels that threatened.
She said that in Cole's version.
It was in Cole's version.
It was when, so when he rushes in to her after the whole pony incident.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that she said. Right. It's all very interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, she obviously, there's a reason behind that. I think in that moment, it's more than just the Haitian. I think it is something that she does feel threatened, because in essence for her, and she even says this, I believe, in that same segment where she's talking about, she's like, this is not my home per se.
Right. She did.
So
yes.
I'm with you, but this is not my home. This is Alison's home though. So she kind of has a leg up in that sense. So she's constantly just trying to fight and just to be a part, just to, embrace Joni as her own, embrace Cole as her husband, embrace the people she's around. She's still getting comfortable with that. And I think Alison just showing up and just kind of like, hey, I'm here. Yeah. I love my daughter. And hey, Cole, we should still be friends, is threatening to her.
I think it's actually going to be, I don't know if this is a prediction, but I just think it's going to be really interesting to see as this season unfolds, because now we're on episode 4, right? It seems, at least from the previews for next week, Noah is coming back into the picture, right? So I'm just going to be very interested to see how Louisa, her behavior changes as Noah is coming back into the picture with Alison. Right. How that sort of redistributes her feelings of like, oh, are you trying to steal everything from me, kind of a thing. Right. I think that might dissipate a little bit.
Oh, it'd be interesting to see.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Just because suddenly another man shows up that's taking her attention, I think it might offset some stuff.
Oh, most definitely.
But I definitely think that things will still continue to be fiery and star-crossed loversy.
I definitely think so. Absolutely. And I think and I think a lot of it goes to back, and I mentioned this earlier about they were married and had a child together. and that child, you know, passed away. So now they have a child together again. So again, that's the bridge that's bringing them together.
Yeah.
This child is now 5. Their previous child was 5 when they lost, you know, the child.
Right.
So it's just a kind of a whole full circle thing.
It's crazy.
And I think that's what they're both feeling
Yeah.
in these moments. Talk about Oscar a little bit in
How
Cole's
much do we
version.
love Oscar this season?
Oscar is like a changed man. He's just like, I mean, and my thing is like him and Cole were at odds. I mean, he was at odds with the whole Lockhart family.
Yeah.
Keep it all the way real. But I mean, he's like chummy with Cole. Hey, bro, how you doing? You know, da 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 da. He's got his little son with him. He's all fatherly now, and he's just like, you know, he's not the dude he was that we've seen previously at all whatsoever. Even when we saw him when he was first introduced, and he kind of went with Alison and was kind of talked to her in the bar, and just the stuff he was saying, he's like, you know, just giving her tidbits of knowledge of stuff she can do. Nothing sneaky, nothing like, you know, diabolical like he's known for.
Right.
Just like, hey, I'm just trying to extend an arm. He does this again.
I feel like almost the whole show needed that kind of a persona. So I think it's a refreshing addition to have his sort of character take this shape now.
Sure.
I think it's necessary.
You
like
think
we
it's
kind of
necessary, yeah.
need that level of like, I don't know, now he comes on the screen and we're like, he's kind of refreshing. I don't know. Like everything else is like horrifying. We're like, what's going on? Who's sleeping with who? What fight is about to ensue? And then there's Oscar. It's
just here. Even his hair, like he's got the hair like laid to the side. It's like, what are you doing, Oscar? What's
so
going on? Right, but it's the whole. I think it's progression for how everybody. Because again, this is 3 years has passed since we see last season ended.
I would like to say this. Can someone please tweet us if you know anything about his wife Jenny? Because Lem and I were like, did she work at the Lobster Roll? Is there some back history? I don't feel like Jenny is someone that we know anything about. But maybe I'm really being a forgetful person.
Because the way he said it like she was familiar.
Right.
So it would be interesting.
Well,
so,
I mean,
absolutely.
maybe like he met Jenny and and then 3 years went by and they've been doing a lot of double dating those 3 years. So it's like, where's Jenny?
I don't know. But
where's Jenny?
He did said it like it's familiar. And Montauk is very small.
Yeah.
So it's very possible she was around at some point and we just didn't know. We didn't see a whole lot. She mentioned her in Cole's version. We see her in Allison's version.
Yeah.
But very briefly.
Yeah, not really see her.
Very, very briefly.
Right.
Very briefly. It's more about the child and kind of how he looks in that state. One of the things, and we kind of mentioned, is that in Cole's version, he shows her the part and he says, Cole, he looks happy with Louisa. And Cole kind of just is like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he did kind of react that way.
Right. And that to me goes to show, again, what I said earlier, that Allison is on his mind. And now Allison is, in his thoughts, and he's just like, so the start of him dreaming about her to now he's like, yeah, sure, I'm happy with Louisa. And then, going forward to the end of his version where they start kissing. We don't see them, go all the way. But of course,
we know where it was leading.
Exactly. The way it looks.
We've seen that happen before with those two.
We have. Case in point, Joni, how she was made and came about. Sort
of interesting, though, in his version, before he leans in, he's pretty much like, my life is good when you're not around. And it was interesting in his version, him saying that. And then in her version, it was quite a different sort of...
Oh yeah,
there
was a lot of differences in between. It's interesting how, and I was interested. I didn't think that it was going to end the same. I thought his version was definitely going to end a little differently.
I was curious about that. I was like, is she going to be the aggressor?
Right. And he was the aggressor both times. Obviously, their dialogue was different.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, actually, that he did say that he's like, yo, I'm happy without you. It's almost like she messes everything up.
Well, it's almost like he has to say that out loud to convince himself. Because I don't think he actually believes that.
Well, it's like it's politically correct.
So he has to keep saying, and people around him have to keep reinforcing, I love to see you with Louisa. He's like, it's like he's needing to be convinced of this.
Exactly.
The one thing that we sort of are left hanging on is, does he really have an alibi for the Wednesday night that Noah was stabbed? And it appears that he does not, because...
In both versions, he didn't have a solid alibi. We see in his version...
He said he was at home, but he wasn't really at home because Louisa was like, where were you?
Where were you? But Louisa does cover for him when the police do come. They're asking about Noah being stabbed. He's just like, he could care less. But, you know, she comes over and says, oh, he was with me. And then, like you said, he asked her afterwards, where, you know, or she asked him, excuse me, where were you? And he's just, you know, he doesn't have an answer.
He doesn't tell us.
He doesn't have an answer. Yeah. And then in Alison's version, you know, he basically comes over to her house because he was upset about the police coming. Why did you send him over?
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't send anybody over.
Right.
And then, you know, she then kind of probes and says, well, where were you?
He says he was at home.
He was at home, which we know is a lie because of
And then quickly
his
it
version.
changes the story to the lovely house that Alison's been building by hand.
Exactly.
Like, wow. But it was
Exactly.
interesting. Like, that kind of a segue, too. Just the whole thing was so
It was very interesting. Let's talk about the situation, because there was kind of two different ways it happened. And this is when, during the party, and we see that there's a pony. In Alison's version, it looks more like a horse.
Yep, it did really. I was like, which one is
changed.
right?
But it was still stated in both cases it was a pony. And so Joni, in Alison's version, or excuse me, Cole's version, gets on the pony and ends up falling off as she's kind of looking towards Alison. And then Alison runs to her aid. It looks like Louisa wants to run because, again, she's been the active mommy up until this point. And then Cole kind of stops her.
Right.
And says, no,
Let her do it. Right.
And the way I see it is he's basically wanting Alison to be a part of Joni's life and be motherly and kind of have that, you know, she didn't have before because she was gone. And so, of course, Louisa's going to be upset about that. And they end up arguing later in the house, and that's, you know, right before when the police comes over. And so what did you think when you saw that initially as part of Cole's version with the whole Alison running to her aid and him kind of stopping Louisa from doing that?
I mean, I thought that was big of him in a way. I was like, way to go, because I think the whole time he was noticing how much Louisa was sort of driving a wedge between Alison and Joni. So I think he was paying attention to that. So that's why he was sort of encouraging Alison to sort of take the lead with that. So I thought that was admirable. I was like, okay, go Cole. Yeah, like, good. I'm happy to see that you're owning that.
Right. Now, do you think that, based on what you said, do you think that it's for the sake of, you know, wanting her in my life, or do you believe that it's because he does have feelings for her that we see manifest later on?
I think it's a combo.
You
maybe.
think it's a combo?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Joni's still sleeping in their house, right? And Louisa gets to tuck her in and read her, you know, a bedtime story and all that stuff. So we also have to keep that in mind.
Right.
Like, you know, if Alison wants to be the one to rush over to her daughter, then let her do it.
Okay. I'm just curious because obviously with Alison's version, it was a lot different.
It's almost like is he Cole gonna just be like hateful and like a bastard this whole time, or is he just gonna, like, obviously she's doing everything that she can do and she's trying, you know, like she said, just like, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to prove to everyone that I'm here, that I'm staying, that I'm committed to my daughter. And so it's sort of like he either can, like, hate her and be spiteful to her, or accept that she's really doing these things and, like, give her a shot at being the mom, you know?
Well, what's interesting to me is that I feel like he's been pretty gracious towards her the entire time. I feel like the only time, you know, initially there was some conflict and he was like...
Was right when she got back?
Yes. Which, you know, is granted, but I think that was all because of Louisa. I feel like if Louisa was not in the picture at all whatsoever, they weren't married, they weren't together, I think it would have been a whole different situation all the way around.
100%. I don't disagree with you.
So that being said, I feel like Louisa is the one that is the driving force that is trying to bring the wedge between them. And so I really think that he's fine with her. Obviously, you know, he still is concerned about her well-being. And when you see in her version, he goes to calm her. Because, like I said, the horse or pony situation ends up being very different. First of all, she's very concerned because she says the pony's too big. And Louisa's like, no, you know, it's fine. You know, she's going to get on the horse or the pony. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if her mother is saying something, I feel like Louisa should have backed up. But again, she's asserting herself.
Well, and also, like, saying the level of stuff, like, your anxiety is running off. Like, don't say all this in front of the kid.
Exactly,
like, now you're just doing the same thing. You're being a terrible influence.
And the thing is, all of this is playing out, and it's almost like, look, if she is saying that this is her mother,
right,
she's saying these things. I mean, it's a legitimate concern. It's not like, I feel like if it was the other way around, like she's scared, and then Alison's like, no, put her on the horse. Yeah, just let her ride. And she's like, I don't think that's a good idea. But it was really like, Alison was like, no, why not let her ride? And Lou was like, no, she needs to ride first.
I know.
And no one else is going to ride before her.
It was weird. It was
like,
just
very, but it
bring
just,
over some cake,
exactly.
have her eat the cake, and watch some other kids ride the freaking horse.
Yeah.
And let's yeah.
So again, it just, made Louisa look terrible.
Yeah.
It just made her look terrible.
Man, Louisa.
Right.
We're not liking you right
liking
now.
her
We're
at
not
all.
liking.
Not liking her at all.
I'm having like, I don't remember if I loved when she first came into the picture with Cole. I don't remember. I mean, I remember that he was like bedazzled by her a little bit, like, you know, because it was almost like she was someone that he needed at that time. But I'm like confused. Like, was I like keen on? I don't remember.
You know, it was, I think at the time that she came in, Cole had been through so much.
Oh, yeah, right,
He had been through so much. So I think we were all, I think the consensus was like, you know, he's finding love again. You know, she's, you know.
And now we're like,
right. You know, it's this beautiful person, you know, that cares about him,
right.
putting him first. And now it's like, terrible.
Get her out of
here. She's terrible. We hate her.
Good Lord.
But again, I think Alison is the mother.
Yeah.
Alison, at the end of the day, Alison is the mother. And granted, what happened, and I think it was a great line when Cole was saying, basically, you abandoned your daughter. She's like, no, I left her with her father.
I know. I loved that retort.
That was huge because, of course, you know, she's getting so much flack for what she did.
It's not like she just like left her somewhere.
Exactly,
like,
just on the side of the road or at the police station. She said he left her with her father. So granted, now, again, and she knows it was a mistake and she knows all this stuff and she says she regrets it. She takes ownership. She's taking ownership.
Yeah.
All of this ownership.
Yeah.
And her spill that she gave in her version, it was very profound because she's basically saying, she made a line, and I wrote this down. She said that she has to watch him love someone else and raise Joni with someone else. That was huge. And she's like, I understand, and that's my fault. I did that. That is my fault. So she's taking ownership for all of this.
Yeah.
So the fact that she's taking the ownership, she deserves to have a second chance in this sense. And I think like she really gave a lot. And I think Cole is seeing that and he's just like, yeah, you're right.
I also feel like these moments where she does, you know, have these bouts of clarity and she's conveying in such a clear way, it's making him go, oh, I really love you.
I love you so much.
Yeah, I kind of think so.
I love you and your cake that you made that no one can eat.
I was so mad about that in her version. I was like, did Louisa really hand back this cake? Like, how low is that?
Well, we see, okay, so with the cake whole situation, that was another thing that was different. So when in Cole's version, she brings it, it's wrapped up.
Right.
And
she was also in a different outfit.
Right, she was in a different outfit.
All different outfits.
And so it was wrapped up, but of course, there still was another cake there. But we see in their argument that they were having after the fact, before the police came, we see the cake on the table. Right. So the cake is there, was not given back.
I was like, give Joni a slice next time she's over.
Right. Yeah. And so then, but in her version, the cake there was no wrapping on the cake. It was, you know, whatever that meant. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was no wrapping on the cake. And then she brings the cake. And Oscar says, I like your cake better. Good old Oscar. He's just so good now, you know. And then we see, of course, as she's leaving, we see Louisa bring her the cake back. She says, we're not going to eat it.
Could not believe that.
It's like, yo, I made it for her daughter.
I mean, I was at least hoping that Louisa was going to say, this has peanut butter in it. Or it's like, give me something. Give me something. Not just like, this is for you.
It was all, like, it was just so, like, who does that?
I know.
Like, it was just all bad all the way around.
I agree.
I mean, she made this for her daughter. This is her daughter. She made it for her daughter. And she's like, no, just keep the cake. No, we're not going to eat it. So here, take it.
I couldn't believe, I was like, ooh, that's
you know?
low.
And then just this basically scolding her, you know, just back and forth about like how she treated Joni and just all of this stuff. And it's just like, look, you know, what I did for this party and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that's great, but that's what you decided to do. It's not like I wouldn't have helped or I wouldn't, like, she's trying to make herself
so territorial too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like, no, I'm better than you.
Right.
You abandon your daughter.
I love when she called her a monster. I was like, yeah.
Right.
Alison, you tell her.
Exactly. Which, and I thought it was interesting too when we see at the end after, of course, Cole and Alison do sleep together because then it's definitely no shadow of a doubt in Alison's version, but they sleep together that the next morning, of course, Cole is gone because he has a wife and he has to get back to her. And we see Louisa show up. Alison is about to get on her trusty bike.
Yep.
And we see Louisa show up and basically says, hey, I thought about it. You can go ahead and have her on her actual birthday as you requested. And then, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, look, my bad type of thing. And and it was funny because I think she should have called her a monster. When Alison said, I think I think she might. So when she said, oh, I shouldn't have called you a monster, I was like, no, Alison.
Well, I mean, she was trying to be like, you know, I mean, I get it. I get, like when she did that, I was like, yeah, right. I mean, she doesn't, when she said that, she still was thinking, you're a fucking monster. But, you know what I mean? Like she was thinking that, but yeah.
I don't think she should apologize, but I get it. Like you said, it was a more thing like, okay, you're going to do this. Okay, fine. I apologize for what I said.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you say that to me. I'm going to say that to you. Now we can kind of be kumbaya a little bit for the sake of Jonah.
It was, I mean, I was happy to see that she came back to sort of say all those things.
Rectify the situation.
To make it appropriate.
I think it was good because, I mean, even though I still think she is petty and I still think I don't like her.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting. However, I don't know because now I'm kind of on Cole now. It's like, Cole,
what you doing, Cole?
You're sleeping around on your wife. I mean, that's obviously going to play. And the whole situation with the fact that we still don't know if he has an actual alibi with the whole.
Nope, we don't.
And the way he talked to the cops, like he was like, is he dead?
I know.
Yo. And you saw in both versions because in
but I
his
think they
version,
did that intentionally. I don't.
But when you look at both versions though, in both versions we see the disdain that he has for Noah, obviously,
oh, yeah,
and we know
100%.
that he's upset. But in his version, he says what he says to the cops, and he's like, "Well, you know, I'll just, you know, what did he say? He said something to the tune of, he said, is he dead? And they said, no, he's still alive. And he's like, something about, I'll kill him, yeah, or I wish he would have died, or something like that."
Yes, when he was like, how unfortunate that he's still alive.
Right.
But then I think it was to Alison later on. It was sort of like, if he ever comes into town, I'll
right. But he did say something. He said something to the cops about like, well, I wish he, you know, good, or something to the fact, well, too bad that he didn't die.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yes.
He said something like that, and I was like, yo, if you don't have a true alibi and you're saying these things, like that's very suspect. So, and that could come back to haunt. I'm just saying, like, you know, it could come back to haunt you. You know, especially you saying these things. But again, we know how he feels about Noah.
Yeah.
And then again, I was just going to say, you brought up that he says again, if he shows up, I will kill him myself.
In front of the cops.
In front of the cops. Daylight, I'll bring him around.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt how he feels about Noah. Absolutely. Which, now that we see, and we'll go to the very end when Alison is on a bike, and then we see this little, what was he trying to do?
A Mini Cooper.
Mini Cooper with Noah kind of looking back, and we're like, yo, what? And I'm thinking like,
we're like,
okay,
is this also a dream? What's happening?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when we see the previews for next week, we do see that he is back.
He's back. So I thought it was actually quite interesting too. When the cops left Alison's place, that's when she found out about what happened to Noah.
Right.
Because here's the thing. They haven't spoken in a year, is what she said to the cops. We haven't spoken in a year, but 3 years have gone by. That means that what happened in these, like, what was the impetus for them to suddenly stop speaking? So that's quite interesting, and I'm excited to kind of understand what went down. So I don't know if we'll get a glimmer of that next week with the two of them or not.
I think we will, because obviously they're talking together. They're in like some hot tub or something together.
But it's like, what? Like, what?
Right.
I don't know. This is like major.
Right.
And then the amount of emotion that came over her when she was listening to his voicemail. And we don't know if that was the first time she saw that he was calling in one of the, right? Like,
well, we saw that you're talking about when he called?
Well, when he called, we saw that. But I feel like we saw that she was seeing the incoming call from him and didn't answer.
Then went to voicemail.
Right.
I believe we did see that.
But we didn't see
Not
if she had
this episode.
No.
Yes.
But I don't think that we have any knowledge of whether that was the first time she had listened to the message or if she had heard it before. But
I want to say
like,
that it is.
She was definitely overcome with some stuff.
I think that it was simply because of her reaction, because I think she kind of just was like, she said, I don't want to have anything to do with him. And so then after that whole situation plays out, she's kind of there, she's in her feelings, and then she listens to the message, and then remember she calls him. So she listens to the message, and then she calls,
and it went to voicemail.
So there's obviously something still there. But then the whole situation. So it's like, oh, here we go. But Alison, this is Alison's bag.
This is the greatest show
This is
ever.
what she does. This is her MO. It is. So it's going to get there again.
It's getting gritty,
It's gonna
guys.
get there again, and
It's
we're gonna
getting
see
gritty.
it in this episode to come. I'm sure we're gonna see more light on it. So,
Oh, yeah.
That being said, let's get into predictions so we can really talk about it. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let us do that.
Predictions.
Oh, hey, there it is.
Hey,
We got the,
some pink lights. I like it.
Right. Okay, short and sweet.
Well, okay, so I definitely think that, well, I think there's going to be a lot of weird overlapping sex stories happening between all these characters. I just think that
Really?
if Noah's coming back, there's obviously something there. Then I think everything is still going to get kind of heated and crazy between her and Cole, because I think it's almost like she's like deeply connected to both of them. She's drawn to both on some level and she can't escape it. And I think that Cole now, obviously he's in a different situation. He loves Louisa. I don't think he would leave Louisa, but I think this is now going to be another interesting storyline between him and Allison exploring this other layer of whatever their relationship is.
Right.
And then obviously we don't know kind of Noah and Juliet and sort of everything that's going to go on there and how she's going to affect him or what that's going to all be about.
Right.
I think it's all weird. We don't know the ties between how Cole may have been involved in that night with Noah. I don't think he is, though. For whatever reason, I'm like, I find that so far-fetched that he would have been involved.
Yeah.
I think maybe he heard of something, or maybe there was some glimmer of like, you know, maybe he did have some ears inside the prison or something, and so he did know when Noah was getting out or whatever, but I just don't feel like he would I don't think he would go there. I'm quite curious. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I know. I was like, I just lost it. There was like something really important. You go first, Lem.
You
go second, I'll go third.
Second.
Yeah.
You're going to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how that, like you said, the love triangle happens, or
Yes.
triangle. It's like a quadruple hexagon or whatever.
It's crazy.
Because of all the working parts now. I think with Noah coming back to Montauk, it's really going to stir up the pot tremendously. It's already getting, it's already boiling, but now it's going to get really overflow with the Noah situation. So you have Noah and Allison, and you have now Allison and Cole situation. You have Louisa and Cole who are married, but what is that going to be like?
Right.
So you have a lot of working parts, and this is just in Montauk, but you still have Noah with Nicolette, like you said.
Juliet,
excuse me, back where he's at. So I think it's going to be interesting. Also, and obviously I don't think we'll get into it in the next episode, but now I'm thinking of my girl Helen and how that's going to play because of how she's been with Noah and how
just
she's kind of
longing for him.
Right.
Yeah.
And how that's going to be like, how is she going to be entered back in the picture if he ends up, because it sounds like he's like, what if I start again in Montauk?
I'm also actually quite curious. So obviously Allison now is seeing the hatred that Cole has because Cole is still under the impression that it was Noah that killed Scotty. Everyone thinks that Noah killed Scotty. I just wonder if Allison at some point is going to be like, you don't really know what went down that night. Because I think that in order to protect Noah from Cole, because I do feel like Cole has that kind of hatred and that kind of fury inside of him where something could go down.
Yeah. You already dropped the F-bomb.
I know, right? I was like, well, anyway, this show just gets me very passionate, and I'm wearing MeUndies, so it's just a lethal combination between the two. No, but I'm actually curious if she's going to reveal to Cole, I was actually with Scotty moments, like, I don't know, I think that and then that could totally incinerate their relationship.
Hugely.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it could go in so many different ways, Lem.
It can go, and that's what's dope about the show because of how the writing is and how they kind of have the characters, join together, separated, and then join back again. And
Yeah.
then, with the different versions. So I think we're in for some interesting storyline going
It's
forward.
quite the affair,
Yes,
Lem.
very much so, and they don't disappoint.
No.
It goes down. But I'm excited, and that's been our show. And we're gonna stay excited and make sure that you continue to be excited.
Tweet us.
Yes, actually, let us know what you think. Let us know how you think the show is going to go forward.
Yeah.
Also, thank everyone that's in the live chat. Sorry we didn't get to you, but thank you that you're there and talking amongst yourselves about what you think is going on. Again, make sure you join us next week. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's going down.
Ooh, gosh.
Yeah, it's going to go down. It's going to go down. I'm really excited to see where it's going with the show. I've been your host, Lynn Gonsalves. You can find me always on social media everywhere at The Poet Scene. Also, make sure you check out my new website, stayonthemic.com. Alison Dean, where are you at, lady?
You can find me everywhere at the Alison Dean. Super easy breezy.
Super easy breezy, just like those panties that you got on.
Whoa! Hey now.
All right, y'all. Until next week, we'll see you.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.